Welcome everyone to today's AirSerbia flight from Belgrade to Vienna. Our call sign is AirSerbia 16 Tango and our flight number is Juliet Uniform 600. So, we are parked here at Belgrade Airport International. Stand Charlie 2. It's a beautiful day and this will be a rather short flight to Vienna, so all the flight preparation has been completed, the flight plan is created, we are online on VetSim, so we can basically start with our cockpit preparation. First, let's do this check. So the thrust levers are idle, our weather engine is off, predictive ensure system is off, TCAS is off, so we are ready to start the batteries, and we can turn on the external AC power. Let's set up a light while the system initializes. Turn on the MCDUs. Go. Turn on the integrate lights on, and we can also increase the brightness because we are flying in daytime. And today we'll be flying from the first officer seat in this beautiful Airbus A319 U-APB Alpha Papa Bravo aircraft. If you're interested where to get deliveries or how to fly for the virtual AirSerbia, feel free to leave the comment in the chat and I'll be more than happy to answer to it. So, system has been powered on. First thing we need to do is press the recall for 5 seconds to check if the previous flight has any errors. No. And we can clear it. After that, we can basically initialize or contact our operations center, send details. So I'll be flying as a co-pilot. Any data request is sent. We can now wait for the response. We have received the initialization and we can now send the OFP data. We are not going to load the fuel through the GS6, just basically load it right away. We will use 4.3 tons of the fuel and also 200 taxi fuel. Our standard departure time should be in 15 minutes, so that's okay. Will be a bit late, but not for a lot. So the OFP data has been sent. We should receive the load sheet and our slot information time. As you can see, our estimated off-block time is 1425 Zulu, and our takeoff time should be 20 minutes later, no delays. Taxi time 20 minutes, but it will be a rather short taxi because the Belgrade airport, the runway is not very far. So for our load sheet, we can accept it and we'll come back to that later. For now, we need weather information for Belgrade. And the QNH is going to be 1022. Perfect. Now we can continue with our cockpit preparation. So all white lights out. Perfect. Ground control on. We do the CVR test and delete it. Now turn on the nav, the ADRS systems, strobe on auto, navigation log 1, no smoking, arm emergency lights. We can also turn the seat belts on because we have instantly load the fuel. If otherwise, if we would loading the fuel, then the seatbelt sign would be off. The pack flow for today's flights, we are going to have, I believe, 92 passengers expected. 96. So we can set the pack flow to low as per standard operating procedure. Execute the fire test for the engine 1, APU, engine 2, and increase the PA volume. From the overhead panel, we move on to the glare shield. Here, QNH has been set. We can turn on the constraints. Everything else remains the same for now. All the instruments are configured, and we are tuned in on the Unicom frequency for the VATSIM network. And because there's no online ATC, that's the right frequency we need to be on. We can turn on the intercom or the cabin sounds, and of course the PA sounds. That's okay. Everything else down here remains as is. We can prepare this for the above, and now we can proceed with the MCDU configuration. So the standard diff-strip approach. We go for the init page. Let's first just check the aircraft status. So the engine is correct, and we have a valid IRAC database. That's the important part for us. So init Belgrade to Vienna, that's fine. Alternation is Bratislava, that's also correct. Flight number is correct. Cost index is 15, that's correct as per SOP. Our cruise flight level will be 380 because of a step climb that's not correctly set, because there is a restriction that we need to go to the 200 flight level, but we are going to climb directly to flight level 380. Flight plan from LYBE to Vienna, and in Belgrade it's variable 3 knots, so we are going to use the runway 12 for departure. Runway 12, and our first waypoint on our flight plan is Tisak, so we are going for Tisak to Zulu departure. You can insert it, that seems correct. On Tisak 6000 feet initial climb, that's all good. Then Parak, Belux, Torno, and from Natex we are going to approach the Vienna. We can check, but we are going to do this anyway during the descent preparation. For now, it's 40 knots, 40 degrees 5 knots in Vienna. So in that case, just give it a moment to check the chart. Basically, what you do with charts is pretty simple, and I'll show you that. So basically, okay, first we load from a sim brief our flight plan. As I said, runway 12, Tisak to Zulu, that's all good. And then for the Vienna, I forgot this every time. Basically, the arrival, we are looking for the preferred runways. Nothing about that, so let's just check. Preferred one, well, it can be 16 or 34, depending on the wind, since we are approaching from the southeast to the airport. We would actually like to use 34, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So let's prepare for the 34, and we'll double check this once we are so Natex 1 Whiskey is going to be, and the approach is going to be 34 via Passat transition. And that's okay. So now we can hide this and we can continue. So the ILS 34 and NATEX 1 Whiskey, and it's passed for November transition, so that's good. Check once again that we do not have any discontinuities. No, we are good, so the flight plan is okay. Let's copy active flight plan, that's perfect. As for the departure, we are going to use the Belgrade VOR as a reference on VOR1 and VOR2. And Oscar Bravo Romeo NDB for the possible engine out procedure. So that's also good. And now we need a load sheet. Also, we can actually, just give me a moment, I forgot to start the boarding. So boarding, we can start boarding right away. There we go. Let me just check the seatbelt sign is on, so that's perfect. Okay, good. So, init B page. Let's open our load sheet. So, 50.9, and our center of gravity will be 30 fuel weight. And our block fuel is going to be 4.1. That's takeoff fuel. You add 200 kilos for the taxi, so 4.3 tons. Here, now let's consolidate the fuel consumption. I'm just opening my SimBrief plan. So as per SimBrief, our contingency is 200 kilos, so 0.2. That's okay. Our alternation is 0.6, and 1.0 is our final reserve. So that's pretty close. We are good. And since the GPS has now been initialized, we can do the wind request. As for the progress page, we'll enter Belgrade 12, since it is our departing runway, and now we wait for the, and we have received the estimated weight, so we can now do the performance calculation for the runway 12 with intersections QNH 1022 022. There we go with the boarding, just tune it down. So the weather in, not this, but the weather in Belgrade is variable 3 knots, so we can just say 0/3. And the temperature is 32 degrees Celsius, QNH 1022. That's perfect. Go to the next page. 1+F configuration for takeoff. Our estimated takeoff weight is, well, 55 tons. And our takeoff CG is 29.8. And we can send the calculation request. While we wait, just see if there's any traffic around. So, not really. Also, we can initialize this to 6,000. That is correct. we have received the performance. So the intersection Charlie is basically this one over here, and if we can, we will use it for the departure. We got the calculation for that. So it's 133, 133, 133, 133, 137. Transition altitude for Belgrade is 10,000 feet, so that's correct. Takeoff shift is 600 meters. The flap and the stabilizer trim, and we are going to use the Flex 80 because we are pretty light with 96 passengers and less than 2 tons of cargo. As for the noise abatement procedure for runway 12, we are going to use 1130 3,300 and for the engine out also. So the performance calculation is complete, flight plan is complete. All we now need to wait is for the passengers to board. So the boarding is soon going to be completed. And then we can start our before start checklist checks and get ready for pushback and startup. Yep, that's the PA of the AirSerbia flight crew.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take the seat indicated on your boarding pass. Phone carry must be placed under the seat in front of you.
And the boarding is now going to be completed.
Please do not block the
There we go.
boarding gate. Thank you.
So let's just check everything. Everything looks good. In the meantime, while we wait for the final load sheet, we can actually check that all RS are aligned, zero difference, so that's okay. GPS also looks good. So pilot monitoring legs. Here we are waiting for the load sheet to arrive and for the cabin doors to be closed. And actually this is a good time to start the APU. Should have done it earlier, because in that way I wouldn't need to wait for the APU to start prior to removing the external power, which is basically connected through the jetway. So I believe the final load sheet has arrived. Yes, we have +1 on the passengers. Everything else looks okay. Fuel in tanks looks okay. We can just go here and update. As you see, no difference, so no need for the recalculation of the speeds. Everything remains the same. Waiting for the APU to become available. There it is. We can now remove the external power, turn on the APU bleed so that there's a fresh air in the cabin. The door has been closed, so now we can undock the jetway and we can contact ground to prepare for push and start. There we go. Okay, perfect. Fuel 4.3 tons, that's okay. Speeds 133, 133, 137, flex 80, noise abatement procedure set. So the MCD is set, initial climb 6000, QNH 1022. Let's just verify that it hasn't changed for the Belgrade. Nope, still the same. Unfortunately, because no ATC, we are going to use 2000 squawk. And that's pretty much it. Doors are closed, windows are closed, and believe me, if you don't close the window, you'll get a decompression about 10,000. Don't ask me how I know. Never happened to me. And by the way, if it ever happens to you, first check the windows, because otherwise you're going to try to find out what's going on with the aircraft and basically trying to fix it, well, without closing the window actually. So we are going for the pushback, we're going tail right. We'll announce on the Unicom, so Belgrade traffic, AirSerbia 16 Tango, push and start, Charlie 2, facing east. And we can now release the parking brake, turn on the transponder, start the off block time, turn on the beacon light, and now set the ignition mode to start and start number 2. We'll be watching these parameters carefully. So the N2 is rising, and as we can see, the bleed is open but no ignition and no fuel flow. That's perfectly normal. Once the N2, I believe, rise about 25 or 24, we'll see the fuel flow increase. Yep, there you go, and the igniter A is active. EGT is on a stable rise. We have a rise of the N1, so for now everything looks good. No problems with the starting engine. Okay, this is a security briefing. So, the available, we can now start engine number 1. The ground crew is going to wait until we have good engine start, so basically we need to wait for it to become available also. There we go. Bleed open, igniter on, fuel flow introduced, N1 rising, EGT rising. Waiting it for it to become available. There we go, so it is available. Ground crew, you can now disconnect, see you with the pin on the right side. For some reason that didn't work. There we go. So, after start, checklist, APU bleed off, ignition mode NOR, APU master switch off, ground spoilers armed, rudder trim 0, flaps 1+F, takeoff configuration. Stabilizer trim 0202. That's perfectly fine, and we need to do the flight controls check. So full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral. That's okay. Can now disconnect the pedals to allow for my joystick to steer the aircraft on the ground. And we can now turn on the runway and taxi lights, waiting for them to wave.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Perfect, so we are ready to taxi. Let's just announce it. So Belgrade traffic, AirSerbia 16 Tango, taxiing holding point Charlie, runway 12 for Tisak to Zulu departure via Foxtrot, Golf and Charlie. There we go, we can now. Parking brake is off. Let's do the brake test. Pressure is 0, so that's good. Auto brake max. And takeoff config. There we go, so basically we're just waiting for the cabin. Ready, report. Slow down. Right is clear. Left is clear. While approaching Charlie, let's turn on the weather and the predictive wind shear. And the final is clear. The runway 30 also looks clear. So let's just announce. Belgrade traffic, AirSerbia 16 Tango, lining up runway 12. We'll soon receive the cabin ready report. We can turn on the lights. Strobe. That's okay. And turn on the TA array. Now, if there was approaching traffic, I wouldn't enter the runway for lining up prior to receiving the cabin check, but because Norman is usually slow, we can do that and then wait for the report. It should be any time. Let's line up for the takeoff. There we go. The parking brake on. And disengage the nose wheel steering. Let's give him a minute. Oh, come on. There we go. Go. Okay, cabin secured, received. Takeoff ECAM no blue. We are fully ready for takeoff. Parking brake is off. Let's press the brakes. Push the yoke a bit further and let's just start to increase the Yep, we are stable, so There we go. Flex, SRS runway, auto thrust is blue, climb armed, nav armed. All looks good. Airspeed is alive. .100 knots, we can release the pressure on the yoke. Okay, rotate. Positive rate, gear up. Nav mode, that's good. Okay. Thrust climb set. And the acceleration is 3,300, so we are soon going to reach it. And we can engage the autopilot now. Enjoy the view a little bit. Belgrade is actually pretty good done with the mod from the ini builds, I believe. There we go, we are starting to accelerate now. And flaps 0, speed checked. Flaps 0, ground spoilers disarmed. Runway turn lights off, nose lights off. And we can actually go to the open climb, 380. And let's do the direct Parak waypoint. Okay. So direct Parak. That's good. Everything looking nice. Waiting for the 10,000. By the way, standard instrument wasn't set. The backup one. .000 feet. So airport, airport, standard. Do the landing lights and we can do the seat belts off. As per SOP, our performance down to cost index 0 in a climb. And now we climb to the flight level 380. If we look at our navigation display, sorry, it should reach the top of climb in around 40 miles. says 94. This shows different. We'll see who's right. Probably this shows, so the ND shows based on the vertical speed, and the MCDU, I'm guessing, is calculating based on the cost index. Not sure. Just check if any ATC has come online. No, nobody's online, literally. Like, the Europe is empty. No ATC control whatsoever. I believe only in the UK there's currently somebody online. So not much is going to happen. Once we reach our cruise altitude, we are going to switch to the below TCAS mode, and also, and basically that's pretty much it. I'll be back 10 minutes prior to top of descent, which should be somewhere around Torno. There we go. 15:07 minus 10 minutes, because 10 minutes prior to top of descent we're going to do the descent preparation. So in 10 minutes I'll be back. Yep, near the top of a climb, we can basically need to get back to the cost index 15 when we are 1000 to go, and just do it like this. There we go. On 1000 to go, we'll reduce the vertical speed to 1000. So we are pretty good. Just wait for it to get to the alt cruise, and then we'll get a few minutes break. And we have a Sigmet actually around Vienna. This is going to be interesting. Thunderstorms. Vienna fear. Let me just check. All the way to 420. Now in this case I usually go to the sky vector just to check if we overlap with the area. But first let's check that we are in the alt cruise. Yes. So, believe it or not, the Sigmet is actually on the area we are going to cross on. So that's going to be an interesting one, but we'll see. It's possible we'll need to do some weather avoidance down our transition path. We are in a cruise, we have 89 miles. Well, basically we can now start with descent preparation. So, where to start? First let's do the briefing. So, let's see the weather in Vienna. And let's also get for Bratislava if we need to divert, but hopefully not. So Vienna, it's still variable 3 knots, but there is going to be a few towering cumulus at 6,000 feet above ground level. 30 degrees, and the QNH is 1022. And in Bratislava, we have a Kavok and variable 3 knots, 31 degrees. So the alternation is fine, and for the Vienna, we'll see what happens. Since it's a variable wind, we'll continue with our planned runway 34. We can actually enter it here to monitor the distance to it. So we have 154 miles until the touchdown. We'll be following NATEX 1 Whiskey arrival and passed for November transition. So if we open charts, basically For NATEX, what we have is that we need to approach NATEX between flight level 140 and 6000 and approach PASAT above 6000. It's a straight ahead, so that's perfectly fine. Just check here. Well, our flight level at NATEX is going to be 244, which is not good. So we can now modify that and set the altitude constraint 140 for descent, of course, and insert that. And what happens now is that probably top of descent has moved all the way to Balux, which is fine. So we are going to be at NATEX at 140. At PASAT we are going to be at 115, which is okay because we need to be above 6000. Then we need to take a look at the PASAT for November. For Mike, for November transition. And let's see what it says. Basically, approach PASAT at 6000 and then 6000 all the way down to Whiskey 971. On this final course, we are going to descend from 6000 down to 3000. And if we take a look, the final descent point is going to be 3000, so that's fine. Our minimus is going to be 794, so if we go here and enter the data 794 as our baro reference minimum for the ILS-34, the transition level, if we take a look here, it's going to be a transition level by ATC. Now what I usually do is I go to the Vienna charts on the departure and then check what it says for the transition altitude. It's 10,000, I add 1,000, so it's flight level 110 for the transitional flight level. Wind in Vienna, as I said, is variable 3 knot, so we add it here, and the temperature is 30 degrees Celsius, and the QNH is 1022. So our approach speed is 123, our landing is 118, our clean is 191. So we'll be approaching the glide slope with flaps 1 to intercept the glide slope, because we would like to intercept it with 180. That's fine. As for the go round, 1000 above ground level, that's fine. And now we can actually just check if anyhow, what I would like to do, I would like to get the shortcut. And for that I need this chart, because we'll be entering here at 6000, doing the snake, and but we cannot be at PASAT with 6000, so we'll see where we get down to 6000 at least, and then move directly to the, so if we can make 4977, that would be good, because then we can just make a shortcut to 973. So we will 977, 7000, 75, 6000. So let's just set here 4000 and let it recalculate. So 977, unable. Okay, we'll see what we can do when we get there. for this shortcut. And until top of descent we have 10 miles. So just get down here to 3000. Our TCAS is on a descent, on a below. That's also good. And soon we'll be start descending. Okay, we can now start the manage descent. It will start with so it will start with minus 1000 vertical speed until it intercepts, but it already did intercept, so that's good. And it set a constraint on the 140. That's because that's the restriction on NATEX. So the 140 on NATEX, and then we move on down towards the arrival and the transition over PASAT for the ILS-34. Just gathering info, so 15, 16. So let's keep an eye on the icing. That's 4. Well, let's keep it on just in case. On path, no issues. That looks good. It's great that the weather radar doesn't show anything yet. So we probably are not going to have any issues landing in Vienna. We just check the frequency for the ILS. So the frequency is 108.1 and the final approach course is 340. So if we go here, it should say that, and I didn't clean the VORs after takeoff, my mistake. So that looks good, and the FMD VORs are now selected. That's okay. Let's turn them on. Yeah, that's fine. Let's speed up our descent. Just give it 270 for descent. And the temperature is now above 10 degrees, so we can basically turn off engine anti-ice. And open descent 270. Speed, that's okay. By looking at this, we should be able to get to Whiskey 975 directly after Passat. So let's do it. Yep, perfect. Approaching our transition, so we can switch to the local QNH. That's fine. And because we are approaching, we can turn on this and turn on the seat belts. Switch to constraints. And it's a pretty long runway, so we can just use those to brake low for the braking. Let's reduce our speed to 250 because we are below 10,000 now. There we go. 1,000 to go. Going to the manage speed. We should be able to continue our descent down to 4,000. And we should have turned on the LSS below 10,000. $1,000 to go. We can now go to the 3,000. So our MSA here is 2,800, so that's the reason why we should be safe. And if we switch on terrain, that looks correct. Let's let him manage the descent for us. Now slowing down in the approach mode. Yes, approach phase is active, but we'll keep a bit of a speed. There goes the restriction, and we can now descend by not more than 1,000. Our go around is going to be 5,000 feet. Cabin is secure for landing. That's good. So we are now on 3,000, and we can basically arm the approach. AP1+2, so we have Alt Star, that's good. We have Lock Star, that's also good. Cat3 Dual, that's also good. So perfect. Glide slope is alive, and we can basically now extend the slats and get to the managed speed to slow down. Probably should have started this sooner, but never mind. We're still far enough to slow down. There comes the glide slope. Armed spoilers. Glide slope start. And perfect, let's announce it. Vienna traffic, AirSerbia 16 Tango, fully established ILS-34. There we go. And we can go with the flaps and the gear down to slow us a little bit more. And the runway is in sight. We can turn on the lights. We need to be stable, fully configured until 1000. So we can now proceed with flaps 3. Speed is checked. There we go. We have a little bit of a tailwind, so we need to make sure we don't float over the runway. And hopefully my VRAM is not going to crash on us now. It's okay, full flaps. There we go. $5,000 as I go around. Autopilot off.
500.
Let's do it. Please forgive me if I slammed the
400.
land mode.
100 above. 300. Minimum.
Continue.
$100. 50. 30. 20. Retard. 10.
Touchdown. Spoilers green. Diesel. Idle reverse. It wasn't really on a center line, but I noticed that a bit too late. Okay, so now we can do the manual braking and actually exit the runway here. That's good. So reversers off, spoilers disarmed, flaps 0. Vienna traffic, runway 34 vacated via Bravo 7. After this we are going to get right on Delta. Looks okay. Just slow down that we have time to do all the light switching. This is okay. APU is on. LSs are off. Weather radar off. Predictive indicator off. TA array standby, and just in time not to get off the taxiway. Don't forget to start the APU. We are going for Charlie, well, let's say 3-4 terminal. So we'll be going down on Delta, then left on Lima. If I remember correctly, that should be the standard taxi route for this airport.
Vienna traffic, Austrian 1-2, landing up runway 29.
Vienna traffic, AirSerbia 16 Tango, taxiing down to Delta, then left on Lima and stand Charlie 24. Now this should be Lima. Yep, so we're going to turn left here.
Right.
And we can now, the APU is available, we can start the electric pump and turn off engine number 2 and single engine taxi. There goes the Austrian. Now what stand did we set? Charlie 3-4. Constantly pulling to the right because of the single engine, and we can actually slow down a little bit. So here comes Delta, and the next one is Charlie terminal. This is Delta 24. So Charlie 34 is on the other side, I'm guessing. Charlie 39, Charlie 38. Yep, there it is. Charlie 36 will be turning here. Charlie 35. Turn off the lights also. And there it is, 3-4. stopped a little bit too early. There we go. Perfect. So, parking brake is on. Left hydraulic pump off. Engine 1 off. Transponder to standby. Beacon off. APU bleed on. Let's connect the jetway. Not bad. So the landing rate was 327. That's because I flared two, or I didn't flare at all. So, lesson learned. You need to flare. Alright, we got the external power, the jetway is connected, so we can now start with the deboarding process. And we can also send our landing report. So that's basically it for today. I want to thank you all for watching and see you next time. I'll try to stream probably 1 flight a day, so subscribe and you'll be notified once the flight is commenced. Thanks all, bye.